The first time I saw cannoli on a menu, I didn't know what it was. I was like, "Is this cannoli?"
Like you can't take it. Only say a ganol.
It's a cannoli. I don't know. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Let's Get Cereal, the weekly show where I, your host, Alyssa Marino, eat cereal, talk about stuff, and sometimes talk to people. Today, my friends, I have podcaster, creative, producer extraordinaire, Emilio Sparks. Hello, my friend, and thank you for joining me on Let's Get Cereal today. Welcome to the show.
I love you, Alyssa Marino. I have to tell you that was the nicest. That was the nicest thing anybody's ever said. Podcaster, producer, and creator. Wow, that's like a tombstone thing. I might have to use that now.
I mean, I hope you don't have to put it on an epitaph anytime soon. And I said it was you're a creative. You're not just a creator, you're a creative. It's a little bit more abstract.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
I appreciate it. First, I gotta tell you, Let's Get Cereal is probably the most addictive thing on YouTube. I'm gonna tell you straight out. Like, it's not hyperbole. I'm not just saying that because you and I are friends and we share that bond of just being, paesans because we're Italian. It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is that you're one talented lady. You're very good at having a conversation with people, and sometimes just having a conversation with yourself is better than having a guest.
Hey, sometimes you do what you gotta do, you know? Well, speaking of Let's Get Cereal, which I so appreciate the praise, but we're here to enjoy some breakfast. I know that you're vegan, so I got my vegan cereal, and I was curious about what you would be enjoying today.
Oh, okay. So I will show you. I am ridiculously plain, as Renee Paquette loves to say. I eat twigs and berries, and I think at this point, when I show you my cereal, I think she's actually right because it's from it's Ezekiel.
Okay. I'm familiar.
It's very, very plain. Mm-hmm. It's glyphosate free. It's GMO free. It's organic. I read a 32-page report on the effects of glyphosate on the body. And glyphosate is a chemical that is used in Roundup made by Monsanto. And they spray that on everything that has to deal with like grains and crops and whatever. So when I was reading about this and gut health and trying to repair my gut, I read about the horrors of glyphosates. And I was like, no more do we just eat regular oatmeal or cereal. So I'm going with this. And I also have been almost 200 days with no artificial sugar or sweeteners. So there you go.
I feel like more than half of my bloodstream is made up of artificial sweeteners. So I mean, all the more power to you. Well, and this is actually something where you told me that I might make fun of your cereal for being bland. And I'm glad that you kind of explained the why behind your, I'm sorry, I need to take a moment here. You're snipping the
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, I know you like to sniff the notes.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's notes. It literally smells like a cardboard box. I know I'm not selling this cereal to anybody watching this right now, but I'm telling you, it's yum yum in the tum tum when you eat it.
Fair enough. Now, this is a cereal you've had before. You've experienced this particular flax.
Absolutely. I like flaxseed. It's also good for the gut health. Anything with like fiber is also very good. I have a whole thing here because in the spirit of Let's Get Cereal, I wanted you to pick the bowl because I know the bowl is part of like the whole experience. Please. And you always have a lovely array of bowls.
Thank you so much. Today we're just going just minimalist, the black and white,
Well, see, I have a plain minimal bowl because that is what I do. Or in keeping in the spirit of the program and the feisty host, do I go a little bit more, let's say, ostentatious?
I think to offset I don't want to say bland, but to offset the minimalist cereal, let's do the more ornate bowl.
I got you. We're going to do that right.
I appreciate this. I thank you for looping me in on it. It's a creative decision.
It has to be. This is what it is. This is epic. I've been thinking about like bowls since we scheduled this. I was like, do I give her, like, what type of bowl do I give her? I'll show the pour.
Okay, thank you.
It literally looks like gravel. Okay.
I was to say it does look like twigs and maybe no berries, but you could always add your own berries. That'd be kind of.
Well, I was thinking of that. Do we add fruit to this, like a banana? But then I didn't go shopping, and I was like, what do I do? You know.
For the sake of the show, I think plain will be fine.
Okay.
No frills. No frills.
But you know what it is? It's like I never understood what millet or spelt was, or barley, beans, and lentils at a point in a cereal. So.
I not too recently, but I had a cereal with amaranth in it. I was like, what the hell is this? This sounds like something from a fantasy novel I read. Like, is this a foreign realm? Amaranth.
That is.
I do like farro. You know, that's all these ancient grains. Okay, the pork.
Oh, do we want to do ASMR? And this is oat milk, by the way, because dairy is scary.
Dairy is scary. I do almond.
I gotta tell you, Chief, it smells good, but it's gray water.
Oh. Well, you know, no accounting for the look of it. We can't judge a cereal by its bowl.
No, I'm also highly allergic to almonds and any
that's...
type of nut, so I cannot have the almond milk or the cashew milk.
Well, at least we have oat milk. Thank goodness we have so many options now.
You know, and when I really want to have a party, coconut.
Oh, going all out. I love it. Well, my friend, without further ado, let's get cereal. Cheers.
Been done.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually glad that you said Cent'anni, which is a Italian cheers of like, to 100 years, for our viewers at home that might not know. Now, one of the things that we first connected on Twitter about was food, of course. It was, I believe, on an episode of Oral Sessions where you talked about how your mom would make Mexican food but season it with Italian herbs so it would still taste like Italian food. So I'm curious, what kind of cooking do you like to do?
You know, luckily for me, I don't have that Italian-esque hand where everything tastes Italian. So, to me, I'm sorry, I'm chewing and speaking at the same time.
Okay.
This is what I love about the show. We can throw manners out the window.
It's informal. We just have fun.
You know, for me, I like to go off vibe. So, like, I'll print out some whatever, instructions or whatever. And then I'll just go off of, okay, cool. But I will go and I will buy the actual ingredients for what it says. You know, as a kid, my mother would freestyle it. And she's an excellent cook, but Italian. Like, even if she wanted to make, let's just say, a stir fry, it would taste Italian. It was just, no matter what, like, I guess the combination of garlic or, I don't know, basil, whatever she would do, it would always taste Italian. And I brought that up to her, like, later on in life, as you start cooking for yourself and you become an adult, and you're like, how come my food tastes like the thing that I'm making, but when you made it, it did not? And she was like, did you eat it? Yeah. Did you live? Yeah. Shut up.
You can't argue that logic from Mama. That's Mama logic.
That is Mama logic. So, so now I think to myself, well, maybe some extra garlic isn't so bad.
Definitely not. I can think of worse things for a stir fry to taste like than just tasting Italian.
Right. But you know how it is. When you grew up in your household, was pasta in every dish? Like, my mother legitimately would make pasta with everything. Now, I get it. Growing up, they didn't have much. And when my dad was laid off from construction, it was a lot of pasta. But, like, it was always pasta.
I feel like pasta is just something that goes with everything. Like, as a kid, I grew up eating meat, so it was, we have chicken, but some pasta. Or, like, when we did the Feast of the Seven Fishes, there was always clams and macaroni. That was always, like, pasta was always an option at every table.
Now, are you an East Coast girl, or are you predominantly a West Coast girl?
So I was born and raised in Philly.
Okay.
Yeah, so very much East-based.
All right, so I want to ask you this.
Okay.
How do you say marinara sauce?
Marinara?
No. Are you saying marinara or are you saying marinara?
Oh, okay. So for us, when we talk about the sauce, it was always gravy. So you would have like...
Well, that's with meat. If you're just making, like, let's say you're just taking some tomatoes, you're crushing them up, adding some garlic, some oil, some bay leaves, whatever, that's more of a marinara sauce. But how do you, what's the enunciation for you? Because I know growing up, we never said marinara. We would always have to say, and my grandmother, God rest her soul, would say, it's marinade, but when you're around the Medagans, you have to say marinara.
Marinara. It's like,
that.
it's like prosciutto or gabagool. Like it's, I think,
Yeah.
I think marinara, like we never called it marinara. It was always just gravy. It was,
Right.
it was whether it had meat or not, it was gravy. Oh, you want for turkey? It's brown gravy. So
Right.
that was how we distinguished it. But yeah, so
Brown.
everything was gravy. I think it's like an Italian Philly thing. Is everything is just it's all gravy.
Right, because in like New York, New Jersey, Brooklyn, or whatever, like it was always marinade. Like, you know, you had something where it's just a quick thing without the big pot with all the meats in it. You know, and again, growing up, I just became vegan about maybe 4 years ago. But you know, growing up, it was always this like this overindulgence of just like meats and cheeses and pastas. So it's like, but you know, when you speak to a friend outside of the East Coast, or even outside of the tri-state area.
Yeah.
It's not manigot, it's manicotti, yeah, and it's not galamad, it's calamari.
The first time I saw cannoli on a menu, I didn't know what it was. I was like, "Is this cannoli?"
Like you can't think cannoli, say a cannoli.
It's a cannoli. I don't know. So, well, you know. Speaking of growing up Italian and growing up with the holy trinity of basil, parsley, and oregano, that is the holy trinity. You know, another thing that you and I do have in common is being part of more of the broadcasting and journalistic side of pro wrestling. Is your love for sports entertainment something that you held on to since childhood, or when did you kind of become a fan?
I was 4 years old, and my earliest memory of it was getting DDT'd in my parents' bedroom with my uncle Michael, who was only 8 years my senior. And he would practice Jake the Snake Roberts moves, the short arm clothesline, the DDT on me. And I didn't know what it was. But even when I used to call him Coco because I couldn't say Michael when I was a kid, I would watch. I was like, if I saw it on like Saturday and Sunday, you know, WWE Superstars, and then the Wrestling Challenge, I'd be like, oh, Coco watches this. And my parents would keep it on. And from 4 years old on was when I seen it. And again, my grandmother, I think it always goes back to your grandma, like, who gets you into pro wrestling? She used to bootleg off of the TV wrestling pay-per-views for me. So the first wrestling pay-per-view that I seen was SummerSlam 89. But it only had 3 matches on it. It had nothing else. I guess whoever taped it, whether it was my Uncle Mike, whether it was my grandmother, I don't know. But it had 3 matches on it. And I used to watch that tape religiously just to see Savage and to see Jimmy Snuka versus $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. And from 4 years old on, I've never really stopped watching or ingesting professional wrestling.
I feel like that is such a thing though, because usually people go through what I've thought of as like the great hiatus. So like I started watching when I was 5 years old with my great grandfather, and then I fell off until my 20s. I didn't pick it back up. I consider myself a late bloomer because I didn't really get back into it until I moved to LA. You stayed passionate through all the ebbs and flows of all of the world of wrestling. That's amazing.
And I didn't get cable until very late in life. I didn't get cable until I was about maybe like 12, 13 years old. Mm-hmm. So when I found out that WCW was a thing on television, not just in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and that I could actually watch it now, it was a game changer. I was like, I'm in even more. And then you find out that ECW is on the MSG channel, because I finally got cable, and you're seeing all this, and you're trying to stay up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch it. Then they change it to 2 a.m. Then they change it to 1 a.m. by the time you're in high school. And when you're in high school, you're at the cake parties with your friends. They're all just hanging out. I go, oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, ECW time. And they were like, what is this? I go, be prepared, friends. And they would be, because they were all football players and athletes. I was not an athlete. I never played a sport. I wasn't doing that. But what I was doing was I was listening to music, I was drawing, I was DJing, I was trying to learn how to produce music at the time, and I would watch ECW and put my friends on to that, and we would all sit and watch ECW. Like, yeah.
Well, yes. Aside from being kind of a lifelong wrestling fan, what was little Emilio like as a kiddo?
Little Emilio was, oh my God, probably the best way to describe me, when my mother says it, I would definitely be Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
Oh.
I was always like in my head, worried about like little things that really didn't like matter. Like, oh my God, like I got a test or whatever, and I would always, anxiety or whatever. But for the most part, I was a rather precocious child. Like I said what I felt. I never really had a filter on it. I was always respectful, but my parents raised me and my brother to be real like call somebody out on their stuff. I don't know if this is a family-friendly show, so I'm gonna be like rated G. I guess that's what it's called.
Good stuff, yeah. It's a light PG. It's a strong PG, I'd say.
Okay, but not a PG-13. But yeah, so I was gonna call people out on their stuff, even if I thought it made me uncomfortable back in the day.
Oh.
Like, we're gonna go to the stores. We just played like outside for like hours. Do you want to go? We're gonna go rob the. We're gonna go shoplift and take like quarter waters from the deli. Do you want to come and do it with us? Just because whatever. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I got 50 cents. Why don't we all I'll pool a couple of more coins together and my treat. I was always one of those like responsible, reasonable children because I guess my parents put the fear of God into me. If you do anything wrong, like I mean, you're gonna have consequences. And it never hit us, but my mother was a yeller and my father was a starer.
Oh, that's such a combination.
Right.
Oh, okay. And it probably paired with the overthinking and anxiety of like, hey, if I do this, the worst thing in the world is potentially going to happen, so I should not do this.
And that's where the Eeyore would come in. Because I'd be like, oh no, we're not doing this. I'm not getting yelled at. You are not, Mommy's not screaming at me. I'll do something dangerous, like jump off of a ramp with my bicycle, but I'm not gonna go steal a quart of water from the Getty gas station up the block. Not doing that.
No, thank you. Well,
I'm good.
Aside from channeling your inner Eeyore, I gotta ask, what was your Saturday morning cartoon lineup?
Oh God. Again, I had cool parents, so if it exploded or had lasers shooting out of like a gun, watch it, enjoy it, do whatever you want to do. It was a mixture of probably like He-Man, Thundercats, Silverhawks, Ninja Turtles, Gem and the Holograms, Pound Puppies. You're talking 80s, man. Like that really good stuff. Toxic Crusaders, Tiny Toon Adventures, Tasmania. All like the really good, edgy stuff like that. Like, why are we watching? It's like, I'm a big Masters of the Universe guy, and you're watching this stuff, and you saw He-Man never killed anybody. He never really even used the sword, but when you're watching this stuff, you think, oh man, this is kind of graphic for like a child to watch, but they're just selling the toys. And I had them all. I was like, I'm buying them all. And Mum-Ra, I thought was the most scariest thing as a kid. And now that I'm going back and I'm watching every single season on Hulu, like, yo, Mum-Ra's a joke.
I used to feel the same way about the Gamork from Neverending Story. Scared the holy hell out of me. Had nightmares. And now I'm like, oh, that's actually really kind of cool looking.
Right. Even the devil from Willow.
Willow or Legend?
Legend. I'm sorry. Legend.
Yes. Nightmares.
I always thought nightmares. And then as an adult, I'm like, you know what? He's kind of misunderstood.
He's also played by Tim Curry, so
how can you not love Tim Curry? How can you not love Tim Curry?
Seriously. It's a definitely interesting perspective to take as an adult, going back and watching the things you used to be either terrified of or not understand as a kid.
Now, how were you as a child? Were you an adorable little child that was just like, hey, I am way too smart for my own britches, and you're going to be dazzled by my mental acuity, and I'm just going to do this like block playset real quick in like 2.5 seconds, and you're going to pat me on the head and give me a couple of cupcakes?
Wow, I think so. I think I was just always very imaginative. Like I was always either reading or like playing with dolls. Like I was very much an escapist kind of child. Like I was always just trying to find either like I would watch like Xena Warrior Princess and just like drink 7,000 Pepsis in a day and just like I don't know. I think it was always just trying to find like different fun stories and activities that would kind of just take me away, sort of thing. And I think I still do that to an extent. I definitely think there was always like a fantasy element to what I found interesting as a kid.
Shame. And I used to do that with a bunch of my neighborhood friends, and we used to backyard wrestle. So everything was completely imaginative.
Wow.
It was to the point where my mom would tell these stories where there would be like cops and sanitation workers or just like city employees that they would stop at their lunch breaks in the summertime and watch us wrestle. Whoa. Because it was entertaining. We were doing ladder matches before ladder matches were a thing.
Oh my God.
Because we found the ladder somebody was throwing out and we took it and, we were like, okay, there's a street pole. Let's put the cardboard belt that we made on the sign. And we didn't know, like at that point, we didn't know wrestling was predetermined. We didn't know that. So as kids, we were literally seeing these moves and we're trying to beat the ever-loving snot out of each other. And we were like, I'm gonna go up on a ladder.
Oh my God.
I want to jump off the thing. Let's do it. My brother too. My brother, he was little as a kid. He was thin. He was jumping off everything left and right. As far as I'm concerned, my brother was the greatest neighborhood luchador in the world.
Heck yes. Oh, I love that. And I feel like that's probably where a lot of your creativity kind of really started to first manifest itself, was in backyard wrestling.
Yeah, because you know what? We never did anything small scale as kids. Like our next door neighbors were 24, 25 years old. They were super cool. And they like really helped shape our brains a little bit to get creative. Like, hey, I got the video camera, take it, film your stuff, and then we'll show you how to edit it. All right, cool. Here's how you do lower third text. It wasn't the prettiest, but it was like, you can put it on. Here you go.
And that's such an interesting kind of full circle thing. So from being a wrestling fan and learning how to, edit your own videos as a kid to now you're a producer for like freaking everybody. So from Renee Paquette's oral sessions to then Leah and Matt's, aka WWE's Carmella and Corey Graves, they're Bear With Us, and then Talking Shop with Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Rocky Romero, Big LG, Doc Gallows.
My guys.
How did you just come to be involved with all of these different projects?
I genuinely believe when you manifest, good things will come. You got to be a good person, but you got to work really, really hard too. I did a 10-year bid at Sirius XM, right? And I felt that there was this glass ceiling there. I love the company. They taught me a lot. But I knew that I could do more. I always wanted to do more. Think big and do. That was always my thing. Think big, do big. You know what I mean? Especially when you have the resources at that place. Whatever. I didn't have the resources. I had the resources, but I didn't have the backing to do what I wanted to do creatively.
Okay.
So what I would do was, I had a podcast with my buddy Cuisine called Wrasslerap, and we started to talk about pro wrestling. But we did it in a way that was digestible to us. We didn't really want to sit there and talk about storyline and fan and moveset and work rate and stars. We thought like, hey, we're New York, Staten Island dudes. Let's talk about it from the barbershop perspective. Let's crack some jokes. Let's have fun. 45 minutes in and out. See you later. Right? Yeah. That started to garner some attention. People started to listen. So I thought to myself, okay, this is your calling, man, to like really learn how to audio edit, really learn how to mix things down. You have excellent teachers around you. Ask as many questions as you can. And I had a late start. I got to Sirius at, I want to say 27, 28 years old. So I was aimlessly drifting most of my life. I was a DJ for nightclubs. I was a construction worker for a little while. Like I did it all. And when I found this, like I did college radio for years. So when I found like I was able to get into Sirius, I was extremely like, all right, I'm gonna learn everything that I got to do and just eat it all. I meet by chance, because now Wrasslerap's doing this thing, and I meet by chance because of Complex. Big shout outs to Joe LaPuma. Big E.
Mm.
And me and E, I do an interview for Complex, and we hit it off instantly. When I tell you I love that man, like he is my brother Vincent. Like the two, like there's three great human beings in my life that I love and I want to make proud all the time. Outside of my parents, obviously. My brother Vincent, because he's the most incredible human being. Right? Second is Biggie. And then third, I hope he's looking down and he's happy, Brody Lee. Because all three of those guys, outside of my parents' work ethic, I try to emulate theirs. And I try to grind hard because I know that what they expect out of me, because they see something that I didn't. And all three of them were so encouraging. They were like, you're going to do this. You're going to figure it out. So I wanted to manifest working at the WWE in some capacity. I got there. I helped create and produce something that did not exist before I walked through that door. And it was able to develop and co-create two podcasts for the WWE with two really exceptional people. It was my senior director and it was the EVP at the time. Both really great people to learn and study under the learning tree of what to do and how to produce WWE stuff and just how to produce podcasts in general. So again, everything's a learning experience, you know? From there, I started to meet some really cool people. Renee Paquette was one of them. Corey Graves was one of them. Corey was one of the shows that I was producing ATB, and I got to work with Corey, and I absolutely love him. I think it really rings true that what Rolling Stone said about him, that he is the voice of the WWE because he's so good at what he does, and he's very funny, and he's very quick-witted, and you know, he makes me laugh. Like even his references, like you really, if you sit and listen to Corey Graves call a match, you're in for a treat because he's going to take you everywhere. Like he's going to be a heel for a little bit, and then he's going to pop at something that he loves. He's going to make a funny reference, and then he's going to tie it all together at the end. To me, that is the perfect commentator. And even when I'm fortunate enough to do some stuff with GCW, whenever I text Brett, I'm like, hey, I want to do something. Come on. I try to, like, what would Graves do? And how can I be Emilio, but how can I take a little piece of Graves with me to do it, because he's always funny. Like how do I tie everything up? You know, and I have the great OG Kevin Gill, you know, riding shotgun with me, so it's an easy transition for me to really figure out what I want to do when you have somebody so good as Kevin. So I got to work with him, and then I got to work with my best friend, who said, I get to work with BE, and that's what I was doing. We were doing the New Day podcast. Like, how can you, like, how you get to travel the country, live out of a suitcase, because that to me is like, I like the rogue lifestyle. I have no responsibility other than what I want to do with my life and where I want to be. And as long as I'm a good person and I pay my bills and I make sure I treat everybody with respect, like I want to go and vanish and just walk to earth and get paid to do it, you know, and then I know that I have a place that I can come home, rest my head, eat Sunday dinner, and then be back out on the road. You know what I mean? That's what I want to do. So I leave WWE because, you know, it was just time. And I get a phone call from Azucar Rocky Romero. And Rock's like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, you know, unemployed. And he was like, you want to do something for us? I was like, what do you do something for us? Who's us? He was like, listen, we recorded this reboot pilot. And we're thinking about restarting Talking Jobs. You want in? I was like, send me it. Let me edit it. Let me see if I, you know, because at that point I was kind of like burnt out and disenfranchised with podcasting for a while, just media in general. I thought, like, you know, I'll go teach. And no, I did not want to teach. I did for a little while. I did. I was teaching an after-school program. I was teaching podcasting and literacy and editing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wasn't really like, I couldn't, to me, like connecting and like, I just couldn't do it every day. My brother is an exceptional teacher. I've sat in on his classes and he pulls things out of these kids that is just pure magic. And they want to be in school. They want to enjoy it. And I don't have that emotional sensitivity to connect with them to be like, hey, this is what, you know, me, I just like, guys, this is if you want to do this, like, this is a job. It's not a hobby. Like, you know, like you got to work to put it in. So sometimes I was rather like, this is real life. Like, we're not going to learn trigonometry. Like, the real world doesn't treat you about trig. The real world tells you, pay your bills, how to manage a checkbook and make sure that, you know, you don't get scammed out of money. Like, so here's what we're like, let's talk about this stuff, and then you're gonna go edit like whatever I have for you guys. And that's what I was doing.
Cold hard reality.
It just wasn't my thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do the thing that I love. It brings me so much joy, passion, and that's podcasting. So I did the first episode, and I guess the Hoots loved the way I edited and the way I pieced it together. And here I am now. I'm with them. And I get a call from Graves. He's like, me and Leah want to do our own thing. You down? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And boom, bear with us. And then Renee, what can you say about her? She's fantastic. She's just an angel. She's an angel.
Yeah.
She's an angel. And when she left WWE, we always stayed in touch. Mm-hmm. And I told her, listen, whatever you do, you will do it with like grace or like the Midas touch. I said something nice. And she was like, hey, I have this idea. I was like, boom. Let's do it. And I'm working with somebody else too in the fitness, mindfulness, entrepreneurial space. His name's Michael Chernow, and it's a really good podcast called Born or Made. And the initial premise of much like Let's Get Cereal, the initial premise is like you talk, but there is this one question: are we born with it, or are we made with it? This inherent ability to do what we're doing. Is Alyssa Marino born with this inherent ability to shine and talk and be this great host, or was she made over time? Is it that nature or nurture thing? And how do you get there? Well, you get there by telling your story. And that's that podcast as well.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's really interesting. And it's interesting too, thinking about the fact that like podcasting is your passion. It's what you want to do, even to the point, and we touched on it briefly, your own podcast, Wrasslerap. You and the Mighty Vin chat with everyone from wrestlers to journalists to artists to rappers. And I feel like there's got to be some really big takeaways from getting all of these contrasting and diverse perspectives on the world of wrestling.
Yeah, one of my things, I think I tweeted about it today. I'll tell you what I tweeted. And to me, it was like the most important thing, because I don't like to sell my soul for anything. And one of the things that I tweeted was, I would prefer to be right and sensible instead of controversial for the sake of views and likes. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, me and Vin do very, very well, is we try to err on the side of logic and reason when we watch something. And if we don't like something, we're not really going to poo-poo all over it, because you can go anywhere and listen to that, or you can follow a Twitter account or an Instagram account and do that. We genuinely want to celebrate things that we enjoy, because let's be real here, like the pandemic really destroyed a lot of people mentally and emotionally and physically. You know, there's a lot of people that aren't here anymore. So do you really want to sit there and talk about something that you don't like? How about you celebrate the things that you like? Like, watch the things that you like. Like, one of the shows that I worked on for the first season was the first one with DJ Khaled. I was one of the producer editors on there. And it was like a story-driven, narrative-based interview. And what I loved about Khaled is this, where celebrate life. Just celebrate your life. Celebrate how you got there. What was your first one? That first hit, that thing that you knew that you had. Like, celebrate that. Tell me about that. Let's like celebrate the win. Because people like humble brag and keep it moving. So celebrate your life. Yeah. So if I watch something on AEW and I love it, I'm going to tweet about it, or I'm going to talk about it. And if I love something on WWE or ROH or New Japan or GCW or AIW or whoever, I'm going to celebrate it because I like it. I'm not going to do it just because I have a political leaning with one company over another. I genuinely watch a ton of pro wrestling. My favorite pro wrestling to watch right now is Impact. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I love watching Impact Wrestling. Like, I love it's really good. And this company's been around for almost 20 years and people don't give it its flowers. So it's like, it boggles my mind. So I was like, I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate Chris Bay, who I think is probably the greatest talent in the last 5 years to come out of professional wrestling. I'm going to celebrate Deonna Purrazzo for leaving WWE and reinventing herself and showing the world that she's probably one of, if not like in the top 3 greatest female professional wrestlers out there doing it right now. Like, I want to celebrate that. I'm like guys like the Big LG and Machine Gun. You know, the fact that they can double or triple dip into 3 different companies goes to show what Impact like feels for them and respects them enough where it's like, okay, we know that you guys are going to be brand ambassadors for us and it's going to make our product look better. Or the fact that they put the Impact Tag Team Championships on FinJuice for a little while and it rocked. And then you got to see that on New Japan television. So to me, like, you celebrate these things. Don't question why. Don't, I'm stupid, this don't work. Like, don't celebrate what you like. Like, again, another favorite person of mine is Danhausen.
Yes.
Like, how can you not sit there and enjoy what this dude is doing? Like applaud these things. Like, how is it celebrate life? Because, man, it can be gone tomorrow, you know? Like Brody's passing really changed my whole perspective on a lot of things because your friend's not supposed to die at 40 some odd years old. He's just not. You don't talk to him like 1 week and then he goes into the hospital and then it totally changed my perspective on life and how to think. And I was like, no more negative. I can't, I gotta go inward. I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna do breath work. I'm gonna figure this out. And then I'm gonna do the stuff and the work that I want to do that makes me happy. And that's it. That is, I know this got deep. This got deep.
It got serial. And that's what we do. Because honestly, it's like in the grand scheme of things, life is obviously very short. Why are we going to fill it up with just either actively watching things that we don't enjoy or that don't make us happy just so we can poo-poo on it later? No. Watch the things that make you happy and celebrate it. I absolutely love that mentality. And speaking of celebrating things, you can celebrate new episodes of Wrasslerap every Saturday. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yes, every Saturday, hosted by me and Mighty Vin. We will bring on, pretty much like we said, celebrate everybody. So like, one of the dudes I want to interview next is Brian Keith. I love what Brian Keith is doing. I think he's so great. I think Lee Moriarty's fantastic. I got a hit list of people. I took a little break because I had to edit and I was doing other stuff and I've been traveling for work. So I really haven't been on, but Vin's been holding me down and Vin's a big video gamer. So, you know, it's a little bit more indicative of like a little bit more video games than what Vin likes as a wrestling fan. So go and support. You can follow Mighty Vin on Twitter, MIGHTYVIN, and his Instagram is InForteNYC. Yeah, you can do that. We got to have you on too because you're on our hit list as well.
I'm down anytime.
So I want to hear about the journey. I want to hear about how I think you're a great commentator, and you should be working and living out of a suitcase every weekend, calling professional wrestling all over the country.
Someday.
And I would love to see you. I would love to see you more in action and hear your voice. You got a good speaking voice as well. So I'm just a big fan of yours, and I appreciate everything that you do and everybody that you had on. I love the Renee episode. The Chris Dickinson episode was really good too. I love Chris. Just seeing what Chris is doing right now brings like a smile and just makes me really, really happy because I've seen Chris, you know, Staten Island. How can you not? You know, it's one of my buddies. So work out with him sometimes. So it's nice to see.
It is though. It's incredible as things are kind of opening back up. Just seeing people flourish. It's absolutely fantastic. My friend, before I let you go, do you have any words of wisdom to impart to our breakfast buddies at home?
Just be good, be great, be nice. That's it.
And I thank you so much for making the time to chat. This has been absolutely lovely to have you on. And my friends, until next time, continue to do your best to be your best. And we will see you later.
Ciao, ciao.
My friends, thank you so much for tuning in for today's Let's Get Cereal. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure that you like, you comment, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Spread the word of Let's Get Cereal. You can also be a friend of the show by joining my Patreon. Check it out, right over there. And get your Let's Get Cereal t-shirts at belowthecollar.com. No, check that one. Oh, okay. Check out these videos. See you next time.